Hey, what's up guys and welcome to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 6 of What If Naruto Was a Badass Genius. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all your friends in your social media platform, and guys, I was out today and I just got home and it's messing with my what if schedule, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to give you all of these what if tonight, but I'm going to try to give you what if Naruto was neglected by everyone. And over on Anime King 2, I'm going to be doing what if Naruto was a god amongst man, and what if Orochimaru was Naruto's father. So stay in tune, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to give you all of them. And I want to post what if Naruto returned different after his training trip. So stay in tune for those, and I hope you guys enjoy, guys. And yeah, remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping and support, guys. And yeah, without further ado, let's begin this new episode. Start the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails.
So, the last part we left off, Naruto and his mother, Kakashi, and Uchiha, they all arrive at the Sand Village, as Naruto was greeted by the Kazekage and Temari, as the Kazekage wanted Kushina's help on his son Gaara. Gaara is currently unstable because of the demon inside of him. Gaara can't even sleep, as he's scared that the demon will take over him at night. So, the next morning, Gaara came into the room with his small teddy bear, as Kushina went over to him as she extended her hand, but Gaara didn't know what to do at first. He then looked at her curiously. She picked him up like a little baby, as he was too shocked to say or do anything, as Naruto didn't like this very much, as Kushina asked him if he was jealous of someone else sharing his mother, as Naruto said he's not. So Kushina started to play with Gaara to trouble him, as they all went out, including Temari, to spend the day together to know each other. After that, Naruto was sitting by himself as he made contact with the Nine Tails. As Naruto asked all about Shikaku, the Nine Tails said he didn't want to tell him and told Naruto to leave, but Naruto told him no, as Kurama merely chuckled. This boy is persistent and he's acting like he isn't scared, as Kurama told him he has guts, so he decided to tell him about Shikaku. The time passed as Kushina modified the seal so Shikaku wouldn't influence Gaara anymore. Gaara could draw on the Shikaku's power, but Gaara would not be influenced by it. As Kushina was tired after that, as Naruto stayed by his mother's side, the Kazekage came to visit Naruto, as Naruto didn't want to leave his mother, but Temari told him to go ahead. She will stay with her. She is her mother-in-law. As Naruto went to the Kazekage told him about Ino, as he knew about their relationship back at Konoha. As Naruto realized the Kazekage is threatened, thinking that Naruto would switch to Ino, as Naruto told him that he wanted scrolls on their most advanced wind ability. As the Kazekage told him what if he say no, as Naruto told him what if he decided to drop this and be with Ino. As the Kazekage was surprised, this boy was something else, so young and already experienced in negotiation, as Naruto walked off to be with his mother. So yeah guys, that was basically the last part we left off. You guys can switch our place and check it out for yourself, so let's start this new episode. We start this episode the day after the Kazekage spoke to Naruto. I'm surprised that you're still in the country, Naruto said to Itachi, as the two were in one of the sand training grounds, chatting like Itachi wasn't a wanted criminal. Itachi had placed a powerful genjutsu around them that they wouldn't be noticed by anyone who doesn't have a dojutsu. Thankfully, the sand had no dojutsu users, so they could talk as much as they want as it would appear like Naruto was alone just reading his book. Konoha shinobis cannot look everywhere for me, Itachi said quietly. And they stopped after a day or two. The work would be left to the hunter ninjas. But that wouldn't do any good, Itachi said. Being a member of the Akatsuki meant that he wasn't going to run around the elemental nations fearing for hunter ninjas. He would be safe with the Akatsuki. And most of all, Uchiha Itachi cannot be taken easily. He was the S-class shinobi for nothing. I knew that, said Naruto. Sarutobi is just keeping up the rules by using the Hunter Nins. But I don't know exactly how strong they are, Naruto said. They are more or less like Anfu, but they know the human body much better. They don't specialize in flashy jutsu like we do. They mostly use Senbon, said Itachi. But I will be keeping myself out of the light, Itachi said. Your situation is more unfortunate. I didn't know my action would result into something like this. No one foresaw it, Naruto said. Perhaps some god who just find amusement in torturing humans did something like this. But if my mother was a Jinchuriki, and this happened because of you, I would have wished for your brutal death, Naruto said. As he said that with a straight face and so calm, Itachi wasn't even surprised. This was how Naruto was. Even though he may change, his mother would be his first thought. She would be above everything else in his life. That is just how unpredictable the shinobi world is, Itachi said. I came here to tell you that I've joined an organization that is made up of S-rank criminals. Even Orochimaru is a member. There are members that are even stronger than I am. I see, Naruto said. Despite hearing the news, Itachi thought about telling Naruto about Madara, but he decided against it, as he would just wait. Because if he tell Naruto now, he would spend his entire time training to become stronger to kill Madara. So for now, it was just safe to tell him about the Akatsuki, because Itachi knew how hateful Naruto was towards the Uchiha, who started everything that night. I fear that they will become a major threat in the future. I don't know what their goal is yet, but just know you might end up facing S-rank criminals. I see, Naruto said yet again. As it bothered Itachi, Naruto's lack of care about the world around him was a problem, a true problem, and yet it was amazing. At this, if there was a war going on, and his mother or himself was not in between it, Naruto wouldn't care. He wouldn't care how many people got slaughtered. If he had the power to stop it, he just simply wouldn't care, as long as his mother is safe. Naruto, you know that you're a Jinchuriki. In times of war, you will be hunted down if you choose to run away. And do you really think they will let your mother out of it? They will use her against you, seeing that you don't hide the fact that your mother is the only one you really care about. Naruto looked at Itachi as he frowned. It would be despicable. Humans setting these things off, he said. I know, said Itachi, but shinobi matters affect even civilians, especially if it's happening at your own yard. You will understand if you end up in a village that is being under attack, or when Konoha is under attack. It will be more troubling, because if Konoha get attacked, they won't allow you to protect your mother. They will force you to fight to protect the village. And if I refuse, Naruto said. You know what will happen, Itachi said flatly. They will brand you a traitor and you will be accused of insubordinate at the highest level. Refusing to fight when a village is being attacked is no different from treason. You won't just have civilians on their case, shinobis will turn on you. And it doesn't matter if Sarutobi likes it or not, he will be forced to act. And what do you think will happen to your mother? Do you think she will be able to walk everywhere safely? You have to stop acting like everything is oblivious around you, Itachi said. Itachi, do you know what will happen if someone like me got all powerful and tried to change the world? You hate humans, so changing it would be reducing the population or get rid of the entire shinobi population, Itachi said. But I'm not asking you to try to change it. I am telling you to stop act oblivious. Naruto said nothing. As Itachi sighed, you will understand one day. How is my little brother? A broken little sad thing. It's quite laughable that someone so gullible and weak-minded is your brother. I guess a tragedy is still weighing on him. But with his mother and the rest of the Uchihas, he should be okay. How about you, Itachi asked. I'm going to be away from Konoha for 3 years. We will talk once I get back there. But don't worry, I will take care of him. Itachi smiled slightly. Don't be too rough on him, he said. I'll keep an eye on you so I can visit you every now and then. I am going to be with Jiraiya, that won't be easy. Itachi nodded. We will use the crows of means of communication. And just like that, he disappeared into nothingness. Along with his genjutsu, as Naruto stood up, it was about time to return to the Kazekage residence. Naruto walked for a couple of minutes as he came across Gaara. As usual, he was holding on tight to his stuffed bear. Naruto didn't question Gaara's attachment to his toy. He had his own attachment and he preferred people wouldn't ask him and leave him alone. So he wouldn't question someone because he didn't like if someone questioned him about his things. You look like you're coming straight to me, Naruto said, as Gaara nodded in response, as Naruto sighed. I was just returning to the house. Was there something or did someone send you? Naruto asked. Your mother sent me, Gaara said in a quiet tone. As Naruto saw the look in Gaara's eyes, he was holding back something. You can say it, Naruto said, as Gaara looked at him. Say what you want to say, Naruto said, as he knew that Gaara had something on his mind. Do you want to play with me? Gaara said in a rather low tone, as he looked away quickly, as Naruto found it amusing. Because of humans, Jinchuriki had to be like this. Contact with other people was a scary thing. Making friends was scary as well. I am not much of that type of a kid, Naruto said. Perhaps I don't know to play, Naruto said, as Gaara looked at him curiously as he tilted his head. Why? Gaara asked. I have not played with other kids, Naruto said. Come on, let's go hang out. I am sure there is something that we can talk about, especially after your current change of mind. As the both of them walked off. Time skip. A week later, the farewell was all said and everything was done. As Naruto was rather surprised when Temari hugged him, Ino didn't do that. The only people that hugged him was his mother and Mikoto, no one else. Being hugged by his fiancée felt weird, as Naruto stood there for a few seconds, but he then hugged her back. As Kushina had shed tears, as she was happy that things have gone that far. Things with Gaara was formal, as they did nothing but a handshake. As Naruto then turned towards the gates where Jiraiya was waiting for them. You've made some friends, Jiraiya said, as they started to make their way into the desert. It appears so, said Naruto. Jiraiya frowned. He was the only one that Naruto treated this way. He may say that he doesn't hate him, but it seemed like he didn't even care. Well, Naruto had said he didn't care, so he shouldn't be surprised. Don't be like that, Naruto, said Kushina. You will ruin all of the memories we had in the sand. Don't be too hostile. Naruto looked at Jiraiya for a moment. Yes, I have made some friends. It was a nice change, Naruto said. There wasn't any change in his tone, but this was a start. Besides, they were going to be together for some time now. Jiraiya smiled. I was happy that you were able to connect with other people. I hope the same can go when you return back to Konoha. But you cannot force things, Jiraiya said. Suddenly, Kakashi appeared. Kakashi, what are you doing here? Naruto asked. What? I can't come to see my little friend, he said. Kakashi then brought out a letter. I brought a letter from Sarutobi. He said that if he was fast as your father, he would have come himself. But he is getting too old. Nevertheless, he told me to give you this, as Kakashi handed a scroll to Naruto. Naruto took the scroll and put it in his pocket, not even looking at it. Aren't you going to open it? Asked Kushina. I will open it at a good time, Naruto said. I'm guessing you're going to join us. So, where are we going first? Naruto asked Jiraiya. We will discuss that once we return to the Fire Country, Jiraiya said. I figured that much. He then looked at Kakashi. How long? A week at most. I will be visiting you every now and then, he said. I can't afford to spend too much time away from my little friend. I am sure he will miss you too, said Kushina with a smile. He just won't admit it. You two have gotten rather close. As Kakashi gave Kushina his iconic eye smile. How did things go with Temari? Asked Kakashi. As Kushina glared at Kakashi. I don't really like your tone, Kakashi. I am hoping that you're asking if he was able to form a bond with her. As Kakashi nodded with a nervous eye smile. Yeah, that's what I meant, he said. Just fine, Naruto said. As expected, as a reward, I will carry you all the way to the fire border, said Kakashi. As Naruto stepped away, I can walk myself. It wasn't a question, said Kakashi. As he tried to pick up Naruto, as Jiraiya frowned. That could have been me, he thought. Well, I still have time to change things. Time skip. Birds chirp. As Naruto was moving at incredible speeds, dashing through the trees. At the end, his mother was waiting for him. As he came across a tree with an X on it, as Naruto held out his hand as a Rasengan form, as he smashed the Rasengan into the tree. As he destroyed the tree, but he didn't stick around, as he dashed off again. As Naruto was rushing forward, 5 kunais were hurled towards him, but Naruto didn't stop running, as he went through hand sign at a fast pace. Wind style. Great breakthrough! As the wind gust picked up around him and blew away the kunais. He then saw another tree with a target on it. As he flicked his wrist, and a kunai came in his hand, but before he could throw it, 2 kunais were launched towards him from the shadows. As Naruto jumped and twisted his body as the 2 kunais passed him, he then threw the kunai in his hand as he stuck right in the target. The moment his foot touched by the ground, it exploded, forcing Naruto up into the air. As he landed on a tree, as soon as he did that, 2 clones flashed beside him as they tried to kick him in the face as he ducked under the clones. As he flicked his wrist again, as a kunai came with an explosive tag, as he dropped it right in the tree trunk and flipped off of it as it exploded. As soon as he landed on the ground, 3 kunais were coming towards him. The moment the kunais touched the ground, they exploded into red flames. But as soon as the red flames of cloud formed, it was ripped apart by a tornado of wind. As the flames were snuffed out quickly, as the tornado died down, revealing Naruto as he was on his knees panting a bit. As he wasn't given time, as he was assaulted by a flying kick as he smashed right into a tree as his back broke right through it. He wasn't given time to nurse his pain as he heard Rasengan as a clone dashed towards him with the A-rank jutsu. The clone was already close to him and was aiming at his gut with the jutsu. Naruto burst into a murder of crows as the Rasengan smashed into the ground behind him. Naruto appeared behind the clone as he threw a kunai towards the head of the clone while taking a quick step forward. The clone tilted his head, avoiding the kunai, but Naruto was already in front of him. As he drove his fist down into the clone's head, the clone exploded into smoke. Naruto then saw 2 other clones landed behind him. As he dashed forward, he jumped up. As the clones jumped up as well, as Naruto grabbed onto a tree branch, he twisted his body around and came around, as the clones met a foot in their face, as they were sent flying back down and poofed away. As Naruto then landed on the ground as he dashed forward and jumped out in a clearing. As he landed, 1 minute and 24 seconds, Kushina said, as she had a stopwatch on her right hand. "You did well," she said, a smile on her face. Naruto smiled, better than the last times, he said, as he sat down as he started to recover his breath. Once he was finished, he stand up. "I guess I can thank all of that training I received from those threes," he said. Kushina was sure that Itachi was included, despite everything, and Itachi was a traitor to Konoha. But Naruto never despised him. Kushina never bothered Naruto about it, because it seemed like he was handling everything well. "You have been working hard," Kushina said with a grin. "You have been working intensely hard for these past 4 years." A lot did happen in these past 4 years. Naruto had grown. He had grown, and Kushina was proud. As Kushina knows she couldn't stop Naruto from training, so she helped, bringing him lunch when he was out on the field. She carried him home when he was exhausted and passed out in the middle of the field. That was what a mother could do. And of course she was a kunoichi, so she helped a lot in his training as well. Kushina walked over and extended her hand. "Tired? I can carry you back to the village." "I can walk," Naruto said. "Aw, come on, Naruto-chan, I never carry you anymore, unless you're unconscious." "Don't you want to be on your mother's back anymore?" Kushina said, pouting. "I am not a child," Naruto said. Kushina folded her hands across her chest. "I think you don't love your mother anymore," she said. "No, mother," Naruto said. His response was very quick. "I will always love you. If you want to, you can carry me." As Kushina burst out in laughing. As she laughed for a good minute, it never stops being funny. No matter how much he has grown, he will always be her Naruto. "I'm just teasing you, silly," she said. No matter how many times she did it, Naruto always fell for it. No matter how obvious it was. Naruto sighed. The pervert should be back by now. If we don't hurry, he might go through our belongings, searching for money. To get something strong to cure his hangover, Naruto said. As Jiraiya did not return last night, he was out drinking. As Naruto had been happy out here. Happy. He couldn't tell the last time he was so happy. If it was up to him, he will never go back to Konoha. But it wasn't. And it was also dangerous out in the open. Returning to Konoha is a safe choice. If he is drunk, I will knock the hangover out of him, Kushina said. As Naruto smiled, "Well then, let's go see to it, mother," he said. As Kushina nodded, as the both of them headed off. When mother and son returned back to their little house, they were disappointed to see Jiraiya. He was completely sober. And he wasn't doing anything perverted. He was actually writing something on a scroll, and he looked rather serious. As Naruto knew that this must be serious, Jiraiya was one of Konoha's main source of information with his spy network. But what he was probably worrying about was something with Konoha, and Naruto really didn't care anything about that. Naruto wanted to hear what Itachi had to say. Itachi usually come to him with news that have to concern him or his mother. As Jiraiya looked at Kushina, who had a disappointed look on her face, as he then looked at Naruto, who seemed to be thinking about something deep. "Why do you look so disappointed?" he asked Kushina. "I was hoping that you were drunk so I could smack you together with my son. You have been a good punching bag over the past years," Kushina said. "Am I all that to you, Kushina-chan?" Jiraiya said, with a mock-hurt look on his face. As he started to fold up the scroll, as he pocketed it, as he looked back at the both of them. Kushina then sat down. "What more would you be besides a pervert? You have influenced my son. If it wasn't for you, he wouldn't have learned that unspeakable jutsu," said Kushina. As she looked at Naruto sternly, "You're to never use that jutsu again, okay?" "Yes, mother," he said, like a good boy. "Not fear, Kushina. I've been a good influence on the boy. He has learned a lot of things from me," said Jiraiya. "It may not be directly, but because of me he has grown. He would have learned more if he just listened to me more often." Naruto simply shrugged. "The reason we came with you, well, mostly me, is not for me to adopt your ideals. You're our protection and my teacher. Anything else, for me to listen to is optional, and if I don't want to, I don't have to," Naruto said. As Jiraiya adopted a hurt look. "Minato, are you seeing this?" he said, looking up. "After everything we have been through, your son still treats me like scrap. While you're at it, tell him I say hi, and that I'm waiting patiently for the day we meet." "Did you hear that?" Jiraiya said, still in prayer mode. Jokes aside, things have improved between him and Naruto. Naruto may not see him as family, but he was edging closer and closer. And there was moments when Naruto was willing to have a conversation with him, like a friend. That was an improvement. One would have expected more in 4 years, but Jiraiya wasn't really pushing his luck. He wasn't going to force things. If he had forced things, Naruto would have told him to return to Konoha, and that Kakashi will do. Over the 4 years, he has improved. He didn't have a lot in the ninjutsu arsenal, but Naruto said it wasn't useful to know 1000 jutsu if you were only going to use 5 in a battle. But when it came to taijutsu, fuinjutsu, genjutsu, and kinjutsu, Naruto excelled a lot. What made him great was that he learned to perfect his jutsus. Hell, he could create a Rasengan in the blink of an eye. That was something not even Jiraiya could do. With all of his experience and years of using this jutsu, he couldn't do it that fast. He also learned his father technique, the Harishin. But what made Jiraiya a bit confused, Naruto never used it. He never used it in fighting or training. He said that he will only use it for his mother's safety. And to strengthen it, he never brought a Harishin kunai with him. There was only one mark that he could teleport to, and the mark was on his mother. Konoha will be shocked when they see how great you have become. Speaking of Konoha, there's something you must know while we're going back, said Jiraiya. What is that? Asked Kushina, as she heard the seriousness in Jiraiya's tone. Things might be different when you return to Konoha. I don't know how it got out, but the truth is out. The village know that the 4th Hokage didn't just choose a random child to spear the Kyuubi. They know that he used his newborn son to seal the Kyuubi away. So, how did the villagers take it? Asked Kushina. They demanded the truth from Sarutobi, and he admitted it. The reason I have us stop here is because I didn't want us to leave a trail of our movements anywhere. This village is hidden away from shinobi matters. It makes it possible for us to be here without anyone knowing anything. The people here don't even know who I am, Jiraiya said. No matter how many times you try to tell them in your drunken state that you're the greatest, toad sage, Kushina said in a sarcastic tone. Well, I tend to say a lot when drunk, Jiraiya said. He then looked at Naruto. So, what do you think of this? I don't really care, Naruto said. You will have to care eventually, said Jiraiya firmly. Kushina frowned, seeing where it was going. As much as I don't want to side with Jiraiya on this matter, you will have to care, she said as she looked at Naruto. As Naruto looked at them, questionable. As Jiraiya explained, some villagers will still look at you the same way. Some will just try to ignore you, and those few who are rational. It is how things will be for a while, but Naruto, you're not invisible. You will grow into a fine shinobi and the villagers will notice, even if they don't want to. You may not care for Konoha, but when you keep doing great things, as a shinobi of Konoha, they will be forced to acknowledge you. Naruto frowned. It would be unfortunate. I have no care for their fames or attention. their opinions has already been clear to me. People eventually change, Naruto, said Kushina. I have already told you this. Unless you're a god, no one remains the same forever. Circumstances change, opinion will change, people will change. You don't have to worry about anything, Jiraiya said. On the bright side of things, if the villagers change, you don't have to have a problem protecting your mother. As Naruto accepted that with a smile. Smart as he may be, he was a simpleton at times, but that didn't make him stupid. It was obvious that he knew when his mother was used to manipulate him, but he didn't look like he noticed. Or he did, but he didn't show it. What time are we leaving? Naruto asked. Midnight. There will be a full moon tonight. By morning, we should be crossing the fire border and reaching Konoha by evening. Naruto nodded. I'm going for a nap, he said. As Naruto left the room, I didn't want to say this in front of Naruto, but the revelation regarding his heritage has made notice 2 years ago. It has created some enemies for both him and you. Kushina frowned. If he knew that, I wouldn't put it past him for leaving me in Sarutobi's hands and going out himself and try to eliminate all of these enemies. Jiraiya nodded. We have to be careful. One will eventually slip through, and it's predictable how Naruto would react. I know, said Kushina, but Naruto is smart. Before we reach, he would work out this. As Jiraiya simply nodded. Time skip. Konoha. Naruto didn't feel happy coming back here. This was home, but yet, the place where he stayed with Jiraiya and his mother felt like home even more. That village he left had grown on him. That if he ever heard that someone disturbed that village in any way, he would hunt them down and slaughter them without mercy. Naruto shook his head, as he's been acting this way recently. The things that he don't like, he always summing up to slaughtering everyone that is going to disturb his peace. Perhaps it was the Kyuubi's chakra that was left in his system that was making him have such bloody thoughts. Are you blaming me for your own madness? A voice said in his head. Are you talking to me now? Naruto asked the Bijou that only spoke to him when it was convenient, which is why he kept the link active, so he could say what he wanted. Should I not comment when you're blaming me for something I am not responsible for? The Bijou said. If you were blaming me for your sad story, then I wouldn't say anything. You could be a little sorry for that, you know, Naruto said, as he knew that the Bijou felt no pity for him, or even think twice about what happened. And to make it worse, the fact that Naruto had a Sharingan hidden somewhere, that was mainly Itachi who could control the beast. Every time Itachi come up to him, Naruto have image of the fox getting pissed and angry. That dojutsu was a sore spot. The fox hated that the most. I wonder how your mother would feel if she saw what really happened in your head. My former host thought of love, but you have no love in your thoughts. You should become evil, Kurama said. With your kind of thoughts, it wouldn't be difficult, and I will be more than willing to help you. Let me guess, you're trying to prove that you're evil, as people say you are, Naruto said. From what I've known so far, you weren't evil. You're not evil. You are just a victim, being passed off to people, turning them into Jinchuriki. Or are you trying to get me mad so you can weaken the seal? Worth a try, Kurama said. Wouldn't be worth it, Naruto said. You will just be sealed again, and this time by 11-year-old, as he then cut the link. As he focused on the outside, he found his mother looking at him curiously. More trouble with my former prisoner? She asked, as Naruto simply nodded, as he looked towards the village. Perhaps Kurama was right, but he would never take that path. He would never make his mother sad. As he shook his head, I really don't want to see the villagers, he said. Well, there isn't really anything we can do about it. At least the animosity will be lessened, so we don't have to bother with those stupid monkeys. Let us just hope that things will eventually smooth out and become good for us in a couple of years, Kushina said. As Naruto looked up in the sky, it was just past noon. They made it earlier than they expected. Come on, son, we don't want to keep Sarutobi waiting. With his age, he might die waiting, said Kushina. As Naruto smiled, he isn't that old, mother. That old man has been alive since the first Shinobi World War. Do you know when that was? I mean, he was even teach a few things by the first Hokage. A man who has lived along the times of Uchiha Madara, whose existence has become nothing but a myth today. Well, when you put it like that, we should hurry then. Time skip. Hokage's office. Sarutobi was in his office with Jiraiya. as Naruto had went to the Hokage's monument to take some air and look over the village, as Sarutobi was waiting for Naruto to get here. He was really excited to see Naruto again, as he couldn't hold back his smile and he wasn't even smoking today, something that he usually do often. "Were you able to find any of the Uzumakis along the way?" asked Sarutobi. Jiraiya shook his head. "That's a pity," Sarutobi said, as he was clearly disappointed. If there was something to have meant something to Kushina and Naruto, Naruto would have something else to cherish. Jiraiya nodded. "I did find something though. A trace. There was a family of redheads that gave birth to a girl, but they died suddenly. The village was raided by Orochimaru, who took the girl. There isn't anything besides that. I haven't told Kushina yet though. I don't want to give them false hope." "A wise choice," Sarutobi said. "Besides, if Naruto saw that the news made his mother happy, he would try to find Orochimaru and get more details." "It has been 4 years, don't you think he might have changed?" Jiraiya asked. "Well, change is possible on some level, but when it comes to his mother, Naruto will always be Naruto. I like that he's grown though." "So, as Sarutobi get a serious look on his face, what was it that you have to tell me in person?" "How deep Naruto relationship is with Itachi." "Deep?" said Sarutobi as he narrowed his eyes. He knew they had an understanding. "Naruto has a contract with Itachi summons. It would have made sense to me if he got the contract while Itachi fled the village. But he didn't have it, and he doesn't hide the fact that he doesn't care. And also, he has a Sharingan." "What?" Sarutobi said. "No, it's not like that. It is implanted in one of the crows. He used it for genjutsu." "No doubt it came from Itachi, but why would Itachi give the eye to Naruto, and where did it came from?" "How did you find out?" asked Sarutobi. "I saw it while he was training, and he kind of used it on me when I was pestering him about something," said Jiraiya. "What did he say when you asked?" As Jiraiya get an angry look on his face, "The brat told me to don't mind what don't concern me, and my job was just to protect him and his mother, and butt out." As Sarutobi chuckled, picturing Naruto saying that to Jiraiya with a straight face. "Naruto isn't stupid, so he doesn't care if we know." As he wouldn't answer anything, even if it come to torture. "In any case, there's a reason why Itachi gave the eye to Naruto, and if you want the answer, you'll have to ask Itachi himself." "That much I figure," Jiraiya said. Before anything else could say, Naruto appeared in the office with his mother by a gust of sunshine, as Sarutobi narrowed his eyes. A elemental sunshine. He then stood up. As Naruto walked up to the old man and the two share a hug, no words were said. "I've missed you, my boy," the third said. "I assume that your time away has been good for your growth and your health." "Yes, it was," Naruto said with a small smile. "I thank you for it. We have experienced so much because of your consideration." "Anything for you," Sarutobi said. He then turned to Kushina. "Kushina-chan, you haven't aged. Uzumaki genes, I presume." As Kushina nodded, "Naturally." "But you, on the other hand," as Sarutobi merely chuckled. "Well, age hasn't been good to me, and this office does make things good for my body, but I'm still holding on." "Good," said Kushina. "Naruto would cry for the first time in years if you suddenly kicked the bucket." "I still have a few years in me," he said, as he then turned towards Naruto. "I am touched that you would cry for me." Before anyone could say anything, Koharu burst inside. "Good, I've heard that you returned," as she looked between both mother and son. "Good thing that you're in one piece and looking healthy. We wouldn't want anything happening to the fourth legacy." "You say it now," said Kushina. "Well, nobody knew back then. Now there is political and economics consideration to the situation. Do you know what outsiders would do if they found out that Minato's family was being treated like demons? This is the family of the man who died protecting this village. If it hadn't been for his sacrifice, this village would have suffered massive losses. The consequences would be massive for Konoha." As Sarutobi knew it quite well, Minato had many admirers outside. The man was a kind gentleman who helped out other villages, and all of them loved him. And if they ever knew that his own son and his wife was being treated this badly in Konoha, those people would cut every connection to Konoha. But nevertheless, this woman has no right to say anything. "What do you want, Koharu? I told you not to come to my office unless you were called." Sarutobi said, "I just came to tell them of their position before anything happened. I know you care for them too much to make things clear for them." "You should be grateful," Kushina said. Koharu. Sarutobi cut all talk about marrying you off to someone so we can restore the Uzumaki clan. Suddenly, the office became cold. What did you just say? Said Naruto, as Koharu looked at him. As she stepped back, I asked you a question. What did you just say? As Sarutobi quickly called for Anbu to take Koharu away. As Kushina placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. As the office returned back to normal. Well, Sarutobi, Kushina said, thank you for everything, as she acted like nothing didn't happen. Naruto, come on, we have to go home. The house is probably full of dust. We've been gone this long time. And plus I have to go visit Mikato. As the both of them disappear in a swirl of leaves. That kid will become dangerous if something ever happened to his mother, said Jiraiya, as Sarutobi nodded. Someone that you don't want to be that powerful, but yet, he already has the power within him, said Sarutobi. Yes, Jiraiya said. But Kushina is Naruto's limit. As long as she's there, he won't do anything. That was a good example. He didn't attack Koharu. He just stared at her with death, and he might have threatened her. All we have to do now is get someone else in his heart, and calm all of that rage. He's predictable right now, but once the stage passes, he will grow even further. Sometime I wonder how Danzo managed to get under your skin, Jiraiya said as he shook his head. At the Senju compound, it was as expected. There was dust everywhere. No one has been living in the place for 4 years. As Sarutobi did not send anyone here to clean up, there would be some violation of privacy, so he just made someone keep an eye on the place. The place was a mess. Should cleaning come first or talking to Naruto? They also need to go out and buy food. The food in the fridge was rotten by now, but she needed to talk to Naruto, as he did scare her sometimes after what just happened in the office. Will it be okay if I have my clones clean up? Naruto said. They can do everything quickly and save you some work. We can just finish the finished touches, he said. Do that, said Kushina. She had forgotten about that jutsu, but then again she wouldn't have asked her son to clean the house by himself. But since he was using his clones to do it, she could live with it. Shadow clone jutsu, Naruto said, as he created 20 clones. Come on, let's go outside, she said. I want to talk to you, as the both of them went outside in the garden as the clones started to get to work. As the both of them sit down, Kushina looked at Naruto, as Naruto looked back at her without saying anything. Normally, I would be the one to react to that statement. Who does that whole hag think she is? Saying that I should be thankful that I didn't get married off. It is if I'm their property, marry off. I'm not a tool to be used for their breeding purposes. Naruto nodded as he agreed with his mother. That made me sick. To think that someone would think of you in such a manner. We're not living in Konoha because we're a property of Konoha, and anyone who thinks that will have to be reminded otherwise. Well, let us thank Sarutobi from stopping anything from happening. But in any other case, I wouldn't have agreed to anything, she said. But you have to stop, Naruto. What? Naruto asked. Acting like that, said Kushina. You have to be calm at all times. You cannot be acting like that if no one is threatening my life. As Naruto frowned, it almost felt like his mother was begging him, as he hated that. I wouldn't have attacked her mother, but I would have shown her my displeasure of her saying such things. I understand, Naruto, but for your sanity, don't overreact to everything and let some things pass. I need you to think happy thoughts. Can you at least do that for your mother? Anything for you, Naruto said. Kushina smiled sadly, as he wouldn't refuse anything she asked of him. It was like she was using him, and she didn't like that. But it was probably for his own good. Let us go to the Uchihas. It has been long. We will buy food when we return, Kushina said. Time skip, Uchiha compound. Well, that was interesting, Naruto said, as they walked through the streets and arrived at the Uchiha compound. Along the way, the villagers has been different. There was a change in the atmosphere. There were a few glares and a lot of people going their way to avoid them. A lot of them had looks of embarrassment, as Sarutobi must have told them that they should be ashamed of doing all of this to Minato's son, the man who died to protect them. And if Naruto hadn't been made the sacrifice, their worthless life wouldn't have been saved. Definitely interesting, but a nice change, Kushina said. How does it make you feel, she asked him. I shouldn't be able to feel anything, but I feel like there was a weight lifted off my shoulders. If they can just ignore me like this, I can return the favor and move freely, he said. Kushina merely smiled. You have a heart, I told you, didn't I? Humans will change because of certain circumstances. Even if you don't want to admit it, the change does have a good influence on you mentally. Do you think Sarutobi was the one who leaked the information, Naruto asked? Why would you think that? Asked Kushina. It hadn't crossed her mind because he was the one who insisted to keep that secret to protect both her and Naruto from Minato's enemies. I wouldn't put it past him, Naruto said. This revelation doesn't do good for us, but for Konoha as well. I presume you think that eventually I will like the villagers and they will start to like us. Everyone is happy in the end. That doesn't sound so bad. What do you say? Asked Kushina. Naruto simply shrugged. My happy day will be when I act to what I believe. What I've been facing now is nothing. When that situation comes, I will make a choice. The similar situation where Itachi has to choose between his family and Konoha, Naruto wanted to be faced with that similar situation. He wanted to make that choice, save his mother instead of Konoha. As he's sure when he made that choice, he will feel truly alive. As the two reached their destination, as Mikoto was standing at the door with a smile on her face. Kushina, Mikoto said as she rushed over and hugged her. As Kushina hugged her back, it's been too long. Yes, too long, Kushina said. Aside from being head clan, there isn't much to do. The first year was tough with Sasuke, but everything is good now. How about you? She asked. I have been well, Kushina said. The 4 years are good on us. It has been a lot of fun. Though Jiraiya had might rub some of his pervertiveness on my son. As she looked down at Naruto. Well, that was good. Not the last part though. As she kneeled down. Hello little hero, she said as she wanted to hug him. But Naruto took her hand as he kissed it. It's been a while, Mikoto-san. I have missed your beautiful smile. Oh, you're a gentleman now, she said that smile. Did Jiraiya teach that to you? I just observed, and it's apparently how you treat women. Mother approved. I don't understand though, she said that I must always smile. But sometimes when I do this, she hits me, Naruto said, with a confused look on his face. As Mikoto smiled and looked at Kushina, if he had the heart, he would be a ladies' man. But because he's Naruto, you shouldn't worry too much. I know, but I can't help it. Where is Sasuke? Said Kushina. In the training grounds. At the back of the house, said Mikoto. As Naruto frowned, as there was a huge responsibility on him to watch over and protect the Uchiha. Better go and see what he's up to, Naruto thought. But guys, will be ending this episode right here. If you want to see the next part of this, or know what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications to stay posted. Remember to share to all of your friends and social media platform. But I'm all for now, guys. See you guys soon. Peace.